Hey everyone, once again, seems like you can always count on William Watson to be the voice of reason when it comes to many of the very serious issues that Canadians have to deal with. Or, as in reference to this particular article, now the American people, although, yeah, Canada, hey, depending on Trudeau, you know, he welcomes everyone, so it very well could become a Canadian problem. And maybe William is recognizing that fact, and that's why he's covering it. Headline out of the Financial Post, William Watson, smug Canada probably wouldn't let in a caravan of migrants either. Don't blame President Donald Trump for turning away the 7,000 Hondurans. His response may not be too different from ours. This being reported on October 26, 2018. Schadenfreude is, of course, the German word for taking pleasure in the discomfort of others. I know I have. Have you? Like, we've all met that kind of person, right? I personally, when I see someone having a hard time, well, unless there's someone that I actually loathe, like an enemy. But even then, I might get that initial, like, oh, you're getting a little bit what you rightfully deserve. But then, I don't know, I guess I'm weird in some ways. Like, then after that, it's like, I just don't care. And if they're being treated really unfair, I might actually start to feel sorry for them and have some compassion. So, I don't know, I guess that separates me from some other folks out there. But yeah, I know very well that schadenfreude, where people really genuinely enjoy watching others suffer. I think that's a representation of their own failures. Never mind the psychology of schadenfreude. Let's move on. There should be a specific Canadian variant to indicate our enjoyment of Americans' discomfort, which is and always has been a major source of satisfaction for many of our media elites. Maybe schadenfreude, eh? So well said, William, because yeah, that's the thing I've noticed myself too. I'm completely out of touch with those Canadians that have such disdain and hatred for our southern neighbors. I mean, I've always looked at the American people, the American experience, the American philosophy, and I want to strive to attain or achieve that level of success, that level of unabashed fight for freedom and liberty. I just love the concept. I love the idea. I love the documentation of how the founding fathers and the Constitution and how they fought against the oppressive regimes of Europe and King George himself and said, no, we're standing for liberty, and not just for collective liberty, individual. How could that not embolden you to just really be passionate and care about freedoms when you know that, hey, I'm an individual. I like freedom. I love liberty. I don't know who the hell is it among us that seems to have such disdain for standing up and promoting individual liberties and freedoms. What a weird world we now live in, folks. And it's all due to the power of indoctrination. For people to be so enamored with authority or authoritarianism and have such disdain or loathe for freedom, weird, Orwellian. The latest example is our media's tutting over the so-called caravan of 7,000 people making its way to the United States from poor, benighted Honduras, which caravan members might themselves categorize as a shithole country, given its current lamentable state. I'm not aware of any Canadian journalists yet embedded in the caravan, although surely it won't be long now given all the publicity it's been getting in presidential tweets. U.S. President Donald Trump's Twitter account has 55.3 million followers. Judging by the full court news coverage he gets up here, at least 5% must be CBC producers. Free advice: to really #resist, get off Twitter. Controversy over whether the 7,000 include gang members or Middle Easterners has so far obscured two crucial and true, not fake facts. The first is that it is a great tribute to the U.S. that the land of Trump, which is said to be boiling over in microaggression, rape culture, transphobia, systemic racism, toxic partisan, you name it, is the declared destination of the 7,000. Not neighboring Nicaragua, El Salvador, or Guatemala, not even Mexico, which they're now trekking across to get to the U.S. Maybe America no longer seems the shining city on a hill it once was, but it's a shining something north of the Rio Grande, and the light apparently can be seen even from the Honduran jungle and through the determined anti-American media jamming, right? So that's the thing, yeah. You keep talking about Canadians or any of these other media or political pundits that you hear from, these leftists, these collectivists, oh, American under Trump, oh. But yet, why the hell does everyone want to go there, right? It's such a terrible place, but you all want to be there. So quit playing your stupid games. Like I say, this kind of nonsense that's being pointed out by William here, and I've been pointing this stuff out for a long time. I mean, come on. How do you try to circle that kind of fucking square type of logic? Like, really, how do you do that? How do you try to constantly talk down or snub the Americans or pretend that you're holier than thou or superior than when just reality, just facts tells you that it's nowhere close to that case? Even Canadians, even most successful Canadians, the only way you've been successful, including you, Jim Carrey, including some of you other leftists out there that are now hating on Trump or the Americans or what the Americans stand for or what the American experience is all about, you're now hating on them, but hey, you had to use that country, you know, the U.S., to gain any success financially or socially, right? So how can you hate on them, right? Like I say, what was wrong with these people that are hating on the very country, that one country that is the true beacon of liberty in the entire world? We realize that, yes, there's a lot of bad actors that are trying to take it down, remove it from what it's supposed to be, and make it anything but in reality, America is that one place in the world that was supposed to be the last bastion, the last place where freedom and liberty truly exists. That's why everyone wants to go there. So stop hating on the fucking American people, whether you're Canadian or European or anyone. You all love the American experience. Deep down inside, you know damn well you do. In reality, I think it's just anger, resentment, and envy towards the fact that, hey, they seem to have a much better philosophy than any country that has ever existed prior. Even Great Britain. And I mean, I'll give credit where credit's due. Great Britain, you know, there's a lot of history in England, you know, that has actually been the precipice in some form or fashion in regards to freedoms and rights and, you know, the Enlightenment era, right, that happened in Europe. And even some places like France, although the way they went about it was a little bit different. But I mean, considering the fact you have to take every country basically in Europe, what was it, like 28 countries or so, and they still can't even barely compete with one country like the United States in regards to their economic or social freedoms or prosperity. So, I mean, come on, stop hating on, like I say, stop hating on the winners, man. Stop hating on the people that have finally gotten it right, or, well, not perfect. We still have advancements to make, for sure. But out of every country on the planet that I'm aware of, the U.S. has done a much better job in regards to their founding constitution and what their founding fathers instituted as a premise of what freedom or liberty even entails. No one else has even come close so far. So until you've achieved some massive amount of success where you can actually show where we are vastly superior in our promotion of rights and freedoms and liberty, then stop trying to look down to the American people or talk down towards the American people or what the American experience or the American experiment is supposed to be all about. That kind of shit pissed me off just as much as it does William here. The second clear fact, despite our media smug twitting about the president's tweeting, is that if the 7,000 changed their minds about the U.S. and said they preferred to come to Canada instead, we almost certainly wouldn't take them either. Without a doubt, though, we'd be much nicer and more polite than the president in delivering exactly the same refusal, right? So, yeah, the narrative would, it'd sound much better, right? Sound a lot softer, but in reality, the outcome would be the same. Well, like I say, I might have to disagree with well, the Canadian people would be with you, William. But, I mean, Trudeau and the people that follow him, I don't know, you never know. I'm kind of on the fence there. He might be more than willing to welcome these 7,000 people and say, hey, send more. We need a whole lot more voters. 7,000? Oh, that's okay. That's a good starting point. But how about 70,000? Maybe 700,000. Yeah, we won't go 7 million because the Canadian people won't allow that. But hey, as many as you can bring up here. And hey, vote for the Liberals in 2019. So I'm not 100% in line with you there, William. I'm not so sure that Trudeau Liberals and his faithful followers wouldn't be willing to allow this to happen, although, as I recognize what you're trying to truly suggest is it definitely wouldn't be the majority or the bulk of Canadian people. But the liberals are in power, and they're the ones that get to control the borders at this particular time, so who knows how that would truly play out. So far, we're not having to deal with it, and hope we never do. Hopefully, Trump and the American people put an end to this kind of madness where people from all over the world seem to think that they can just go to America and plunder the productive wealth and income and labor of the domestic population within that country. Like I say, this ain't like back in the 1700s, like when people say, oh, hey, we're all immigrants. Yeah, back when all of our ancestors emigrated to North America, there was no welfare state. There was no way to forcefully wealth redistribute the income or productive labor of the domestic population. So yes, that's a totally different, that's the great divide there. That's where people should be, in the media in particular, should be pointing out, that's the glaring difference. Yes, immigration is fine if you can't force or thrust other people to pay or subsidize these people. I'm all for, just like most reasonable people, hey, if you're a decent person and you at least align with the philosophical premises or principles of what it is to be in, U.S. or Canada and all that we supposedly stand for as a state, not saying I'm even a promoter of the state, but that's the whole pretense. That's the overlying umbrella that we all live under, is we all have to function under certain rules and acknowledge that, hey, we're supposed to respect what it is to be Canadian. Otherwise, we'd just be like the global citizens that some of these idiots want to put us into. And, well, what would that even entail? What does that even mean? I haven't heard anything from any of these people, because they're basically saying that there should be no borders anywhere. Well, what about your property? What about if you buy a piece of property? There should be borders there, right? And why would that be? It would be because you don't want other people encroaching on your private property or stealing things that you created or that were produced as a result of your productive income or labor or intellect. Well, it's the same thing can be expanded out to the state, because the state forcefully plunders the domestic population. They steal from us. That's just a reality. Nobody can deny that. So why should we, if we're even supposedly allowing the government to steal from us, although we don't allow it, it's just we have no choice in the matter. But if we're supposedly functioning under this pretense of a social contract, well, when you can take my money away from me and give it to complete strangers, that was never part of the contract. No one would actually agree with that. So once again, no matter how you look at it, no matter how many which ways or how many scenarios or how many variables these leftists or these collectivists introduce to make you feel guilty for standing up in defense of your liberties, like I say, they're going to fail at every junction, because people are going to recognize whether it's the social aspect or the cultural aspect or the economic aspect or just the tribal aspect, the biological tribalism that is still mostly entrenched in a lot of us, especially if we don't use our intellect to think outside of those inherent biological preferences that go back millions of years. Unless we're all willing to forgo them and actually think critically about these issues, it's always going to prove to be detrimental for any domestic population if they just allow a constant influx or mass immigration of people that don't share or align with their particular values or principles. It's always going to cause conflict and strife, and ultimately can very much lead to violence. Just refer to the 20th century if you need any evidence for that. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.